Hey everyone, and Happy New Year! Sorry for the long wait between videos. A lot of stuff happened in my life. This is the third part in my How to Make an Undertale / Deltarune fan game for beginners series, and I would highly recommend watching the other two parts before watching this. Today's episode will teach you how to set up collisions, create rooms, and use tile maps. Now, first things first, we need to create an object called object. Oh, let's do that. Object. Okay. Nice. Now let's do SPR. Great, and we'll put this. And I'll show you how I like to have. Yeah, you don't have to have it this way. You can have it. Okay, and then double click here, and whatever you do, just make sure it's transparent. I like to 5, but you can do whatever one. Go. Okay. So now that we have that, we need to put it in our room. So up in tab up here, and if you closed it, you can just double click, and you want to create a new instance layer, which is these two. Name this to Visions. Okay, and so now we can our clock in here. If yours is snapping to a grid like this, you probably want to turn that off. So for some things you want it on a grid, for some things you don't. For this we don't. Just to test it, let's put it like here, and it's not going to do anything yet, but we're just going to test it. So if we run it by pressing F5, they show up. Great. Only problem is we're not actually colliding with them. So to fix that, we got to do the only coding in today's tutorial by going to Object Player, go into the step event, which remember, this one runs every single frame, and right after where we have this piece of code here, speed equals right key minus left key times move speed, and y speed equals right down key minus up key times move speed. And before the x plus x speed and y plus y speed, we want to create a new section called collision. Alright, and we have to do it here just so that when it actually sets it to 0, it adds it, right? It has to be before this little bit here. So now to do the actual code, we need an if statement, which remember is basically if whatever we type here is true, then it runs code. So if we want to say if place underscore meeting. Now this is a new function, which basically means that if the object that it's running in this case our player, is touching another object to run the code in the brackets, which we actually in this case are going to be doing a little ahead of where we are, so that we don't just stop completely when we touch the collider and we can't move at all. So in order to check for that, we need to have x plus x speed. So this is going to be the x coordinate it's checking for meeting the object, which is just our current x position plus whatever our speed is in the x direction. So basically where we are now versus where we will be in the next frame on the x axis. So now we need to have y, because we're only checking for x here, we're not worried about y. So we can just leave y like that, and then object underscore collider. Yeah, so if we if where we are on the x-axis, the next frame is touching a collider, then it's going to run this code here. So the code here will be and remember, you can press tab to move up like that, and it makes it a little neater and more organized and more readable the more code you get. So it's just a good habit to have. So what we want to type is x speed. Oops. I cannot type. X speed equals 0. And yeah, so this is just basically going to stop us moving in the x direction if we're touching, a collider. Or if we would touch a collider on the next frame, if we kept moving that direction. Now I'm going to challenge you to do Same thing we did up here, but for Y, and just pause the video and unpause when you're ready to see the answer. Okay, we got it. So it's a little tricky. We need to actually change this to just X, and on Y do plus Y speed, that, and then change this to Y, that. Alright, so you'll notice that we can get to the walls, but we kind of get stuck and try to walk around them. So to fix this, we need to set a collision mask for our player sprite that's different than like our individual sprites collision mask, because they change per sprite and it just gets messed up. So basically what we need to do is we want to select our facing down sprite as well what we want to get the collision from, and so we just want to change this to a little box maybe like right above the hands like that. There you go, and now that should hopefully fix it. There we go. Now we can walk up and down along the walls, and oops, okay. You might also want to put your like colliders below while you're testing it, just so you can see, like, you know, if you like position of the collision box for the player, because you might make it too low or too high, and then yeah, you do probably want it to be somewhere just like a little above the hands, so that you can be in front of objects. Yeah, that's basically all you need to do to add them. Actually, one more thing, you need to uncheck visible so that they don't actually show up in your game, but they're still here. Great job! So next up, I'll show you how to add rooms with pre-existing backgrounds, like and objects from Undertale and Deltarune. As an example, I'll be recreating Papyrus's room from Undertale. Again, you can get lots of game sprites like this from Sprites resource. Alright, let's download this to our project folder. Great, and now to import the sprites, so let's name this SPR underscore apps room. There we go. We're going to import, and we're going to go to our desktop or wherever you have your project saved. Okay, we're going to open up we're going to import the file. So let's edit image, also make sure it's 0 because it's not going to be moving. Yeah. We're gonna zoom in where we want. So just for the room itself, you can just draw a box around it with the select tool and click image, and then crop all frames to selection, and then this will just give us the room. Alright, and to add the other objects, you know, in his room, so it's just not empty, need to create more sprites for each of those. SPR underscore bed, let's start with. Import. Open up sprites, edit image. We're going to mount Papyrus's bed here. All frames to selection. Click the magic wand tool, select the purple. Delete. 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 Perfect. And now we can doing that for the other things. I'll just speed that up so you don't have to watch me do each one individually. Okay, so now's a good time to mention, it's usually a good idea to create little folders to organize all your sprites and objects and stuff, just so it doesn't get like a mess like this kind of is here. So let's create like a first group, characters, right? And so within the characters folder / group, we can create another one for Noel. Then we can drag our sprites in there. Great. And then we can minimize that because we don't really need her, right? Alright, and let's create another group called Paps Furniture. There we go. Then we can, if you want to know how to select stuff like this, you can just click one of the sprites or, you know, anything you like, and then hold down shift and then click how far you want to select. move this into here. And I actually noticed I accidentally put Papyrus's room in there. We don't want that, so we actually want to create another thing for rooms. And we can put his room into here. And yeah, and we can probably also do another group for apps room, tomb room, and then drag his furniture and his room into there. So we can have his room and his furniture both under his room, which is under the rooms, and then we have our characters with, oh, this should be Noel. There we go. Alright, so now to actually create a room for this, we need to, under rooms, hit create room, and then we're going to name this rm_apps. Great. And to add the actual sprite, I'm going to click on background, and then we can just drag SPR paps room here. Or alternatively, you can click here and then go through and find it like that. Perfect. So now to add the actual furniture, we want to create a asset layer, which are the two squares with pluses inside them right here. Alright, and then we can just start dragging in the assets however we please. It might be a good idea to look up what you're trying to recreate, if that's what you're doing, that is, so you know what to do. So I'm going to go through and just try to recreate Papyrus's room to the best of my ability here. Alright, and I'd say that's looking pretty accurate to how it is in Undertale. Next, oh yeah, we should probably rename our layers just to keep it, you know, so if we ever need to edit it, we can just know what each thing is. So let's name this furniture. Alright, and now's a good time to mention you should probably have the default instances layer be named player, which will be useful in the next tutorial. And we should probably do the same thing in our test room. Let's rename this to the player layer. There you go. If you want to actually test this room, we need to click the little icon here and then drag it just above here so that it is the home room. And yeah, but before we can actually play test, we need to have a player object in our scene if we want to actually be able to do anything and not just like look at the room. So let's press F5 and see. Oh, you can see I forgot to add a viewport to this room like we did with the other room. So if you remember, we need to click enable viewports, then we need to, under viewport 0, click visible, and then we need to change this to whatever dimensions we want. You can just go back to your room over here, your test room, and paste in values. Alright, so now we can start it. Look at that. We got Noelle, and she's in Papyrus's room. Only issue is that there's no collision, so why don't we add that? To add collision, all you have to do is click new instance layer like we did before. We're going to rename this to, collisions. And then we're going to drag in the colliders where we need them. There we go. So now we have our colliders here, so when we run the game. Great, so now I collide with objects where I want. Except for some objects you might want to have them show up above the player. So in order to fix that so that those objects above the player can go to the layer that they're on, select, and then you want to click, go to the layer that they're on, click new layer here, and we can rename this to furniture 2. Then we can right click, or we can hold down control, right click any of the things that we want to move, click Control X, go to the new layer, press Control V, and now just make sure that they are above the player layer, and run your game, and it should work well. Yep, there we go. Now the sprites above the player as they should be. Right, so now if we want to actually create new rooms with tile sets, I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to be using two different tile sets for this video. First, I'll be using the waterfall tile set and the hometown tile set down here, because each one is formatted a little differently, and I'm going to show you how to import each one into Gamemaker. Alright, so let's download these. So now here we can okay, so here we create a new sprite called BR waterfall tiles, or whatever tiles you have. One BR underscore home tiles. Alright, and let's create a group just to keep it all organized. Alright, so we can click import. When we want. Okay. Add an image. Then we want to go down and swap the tiles here. Image, swap all things, selection. Magic wand tool, select all the purple, the dark purple, and now to get all this light purple here without having to individually go through and delete each one, we can just uncheck contiguous mode up here, and we'll select all the light purple in the image, and then we can press delete key. And then for a waterfall tile, let's click import, and yep, edit image. Want to select the purple, this purple, uncheck contiguous mode, and delete that. And now, and we should probably delete, yeah, the 10. Don't need it. Or, perfect. Although, shout out to them. We can, and these are just the color palette, we don't need that either. Okay. Now, to actually create tile sets out of the tiles we've downloaded, what you need to do is go here, click create tile set, and name it ts underscore boom down. Alright, for tile set home. Alright, now we can drag our sprite over here. We want tile width to be 20, tile height to be 20, that's what Undertale and Deltarune. We want separation X to be 1 and tile separation Y to be 1. The reason we want that is because there's 1 pixel gap in between each sprite in the hometown sprites. Perfect, and so now, and they're actually just done. And we can do the same thing for the waterfall sprites, TS, waterfall. And we can drag the sprites here. And then just do 20 by 20, and then we're done for these. Because they, unlike the hometown sprites, don't have any gaps in between each tile, which is why I wanted to show both of the tile sets, because they're slightly different and you're likely to encounter the different kinds like that. Now, in order to test if these actually work, we can go to our test room and we can try painting them in here. So let's just click here, make sure it's the home room that the game actually starts in by dragging it to the top, or you can just click the arrow like that. Alright, and now let's out, and we delete these colliders now. We'll be adding a tile set. So add a tile set, just go to the background layer. Then you want to click create new tile layer. Perfect. And we can name this hometown, because you can have spaces and layer names for whatever reason. Right, and now we just need to go to our assets up here, drag the tile set here. Perfect. We can go back to the room editor. Right, and so now we can just start painting however we want. We can increase the brush size like this, set this like 10, and then we can have all the grass. Then we can add like back to 1, put grass here. If we want, and then this, or we can it off like that. Actually, if there's a transparent one like that, what we can do is add another tile layer and just name this 2. Alright, and then you can paint your transparent ones above the others. Yeah, so just remember to just make sure you're on the right layer when you're trying to edit tiles, and you can hide and show different layers like that. Alright, so first I'm going to use everything that we learned in this video to create a sample room using the hometown sprites, and then I'll make one with waterfall sprites. So I'll create a time lapse of that so you can see how I did it. Okay, and if you ever put your tiles in the wrong spot, you can press Ctrl X. You have to select them with this tool, press Ctrl X, and then you can move them. Alright, and so here's the hometown one. Let's test it out. Yep. So I can't walk out because I put the colliders there. And yeah, so the trees I can't walk through. Walk instead. I need to put that on the right layer. Let me that. There we go. That should be better. Now I can. That works. Yep. Great, and so now we have our hometown room done. So now I'll go create the waterfall one. Right, and so now I finished the waterfall one. Oh wait, I forgot to set it home room. Got up. Okay. Go. Now waterfall room. Oops. Through. That's good. Oh, it's not wide enough down there now. That. There you go. Here. But I can't green or anything. Yeah. And yeah, if I wanted to, I could add collision to the tree and the mushroom and the minecart, but you get the idea. And of course, you can always just go to your room properties and like make it larger if you think, okay, I made it too small. You can always just like make it larger, and then you know, obviously change the collision accordingly. But yeah, and then you'll be to your tiles and okay, and so now I expanded the room a bit, so you know you can do that. And when you do end up making bigger rooms, you'll notice I started going over here. The camera doesn't follow. Very easy fix. You just need to make sure you have your room selected. You wanna go to your viewport 0, and then for object following, you can just drag your player object right there, and it should follow. So if you go over here, it will follow. Only thing is you have to change the horizontal border and the vertical border. That you want 160 and 120. 60, 20. Okay, so now, oops, that was 12. That shouldn't really matter because this isn't a vertical like room, it's horizontal. But there you go. Now, all working. I can go down to here, go over here, fine. Okay, this looks pretty good. Although one more thing, you might notice that your character will shake a little if they're moving the camera, and we don't want that. So simple fix is we need to do add this code here, which yeah, I would just add it at the bottom of your step event for the player object. What you want to do is just say don't shake, and I wouldn't really worry about like exactly how this works. You basically all it's doing is just rounding your position. So, and as you can see, it makes it a lot smoother. So yeah, that will conclude today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. The next tutorial will be on adding save points and room transitions. So say if there was a room transition over here. Oh yeah, and you might want to turn down the sprint speed, it's way too fast. But anyway, say there's a room transition here. We'll be adding that there so you can go to a new room, or even if there was one here. And then, and also save points so that you can save your game. Yeah, that should conclude today's tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more hyperlink blocks. I mean tutorials. Good luck and have a wonderful day!